I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
All right, Kyle T. Mosley here with Coach Bryan Fulford. We are taking over inside the HBCU Sports Lab tonight. Dr. Cavil, we don't know where he's at, but we just got the keys to the laboratory. So we are here to hang out.
Still celebrating that stone cold, that ice cold celebration that the brothers do, probably.
Yeah, and congratulations to Phi Alpha on you guys' anniversary there. Good to see that you guys are going strong. And but we gotta also give some love out to the other Divine Nine as well. But man, Coach, it's championship weekend, I should say. All this week, you know, I think most of these schools have been pretty nice to each other. You know, you've been hearing some smack talk a little bit from the alumni and the fans from Jackson State as well as Southern. But the coach has been real nice, you know, real polite in the press conferences and everything else. But this has got to be one of those games where you got to believe that something crazy and wacky is going to happen because it's the SWAC, right?
I hope so. You know, I mean, it's all quiet out here in these Twitter streets. You know, I mean, this was supposed to be the big bad Tigers and the big bad Jaguars and you know, the boombox, and it's been real quiet. There's been I don't know, maybe it's the holiday season, Kyle. Maybe that's what's got these two, you know, during the fall and summer, man, these two fan bases, you know, they go at it. But I guess right now, everybody's just kind of calm and in a joyful spirit because of the holidays. Maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah, well, the calm before the storm. How about that? Let's chalk it up for that. I think right now, when you look at Jackson State as well as you look at Southern University, I call the Jaguars the cardiac cats this year with their 3 overtime wins that they had to rally to come from behind to be able to put those pelts on their locker rooms there. But when you look at Coach Terrence Graves, he's done a tremendous job as a rookie head coach coming into that program. You know, but Coach Graves said, I'm 32 years in this game, bro. You know, Bryan, I'm not a rookie, really. Right? Well, what's your thoughts about that?
Man, that was a strong statement. I mean, my man, said put some respect on my name, right?
That's right.
I loved it. I mean, I already was a big fan of his because of what he's done in the Bayou Classic. I wasn't betting against him, and I think look, if he can pull this off, if he pulls this off, this would be I think one of the biggest wins there. I don't want to go so far and say in modern Southern University football history, but it might be top 5 in this new millennium, Kyle.
Yeah, look, I can remember the first major upset that Southern had was in the Bayou Classic, 1979 Bayou Classic. My cousin was a part of that. He was the defensive MVP, Kenny Times, and those guys won 14-7 over Eddie Robinson, shocked the world. Everybody couldn't believe that Southern actually won a Bayou Classic, but it happened. And from that point, Southern has now taken over that lead of the Bayou Classic, 27-24. I never thought I would have seen the day that would happen as well, because everybody was go Tigers, the G-Men ruled. But let's go back to the game, man. We're talking about Jackson State one of the premier programs in HBCU football. Southern University, another storied program in HBCU football. Bryan, there's a lot to talk about with these guys. You look at the all SWAC teams, the talent on both sides that these coaches were able to develop and mature these young men and have them to be honored on that team, as well as the box to row All-American team. You saw quite a few of those guys, especially Kelby Givens. He was on that team as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Guys, put in your comments in the chat. We're going to have a freestyle kind of show tonight. We're not going to go by what's happening on paper. We don't have any nice fancy slideshows or anything to that nature. We're just going to go freestyle tonight. And let's start off by talking about what's happening in the coaching circles, Coach. We had the big hire today, which wasn't a major surprise to me, but a lot of people know that Sean Gibbs is now leaving Fort Valley. He's headed back to North Carolina A&T. Talk about how you see that match developing. Is it a great one for the program?
Worst kept secret in HBCU football.
I wrote
probably.
that. Yeah.
Worst kept secret. I mean, guys were people were talking about this back in and I heard David L. Rhodes on Wednesday Sports Lab talk about this, that this kind of was being talked about as far back as homecoming.
Wow,
at
really?
A&T's homecoming. That's what he had said on the show. And that's interesting because A&T is sort of falling off the plan. I mean, just think about this, Kyle. Just what was it? I want to think, was it pre-COVID or right before? There was a period of time, pre-COVID. A&T was the dominant name in HBCU football. I mean, we're talking 5 years ago, so probably about 5 years ago.
Right?
Yeah, less than half a decade. I mean, beating FBS teams. I mean, everything was great. Multiple celebration bowls, and then all of a sudden, they fell off the cliff. They jumped conferences, and they never quite found the right coaching culture. And
right.
Actually, I understand what they tried to do when they hired, the previous coach, Brown, but because they tried to find somebody who understood that conference. And he did have a little bit of success in that conference, which to me, that makes sense. But at the same time, I think there were some other things off the field, some external things. And what's an interesting case study is seeing how fan bases respond to being in these conferences. I think we've seen it with North Carolina A&T. We're seeing it with Tennessee State. This is something that I think administrators and college presidents, let's not leave them out of this. They're going to have to really start to pay attention to what their alumni base are telling them. So all of that said, I think Gibbs is a good fit for that culture. He represents the good times. And look, I don't know all the intricacies of why he didn't get the job previously.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough of the background story. I know either people like yourself or even David L. Rhodes. David would probably know. But I think this is a good opportunity to reconnect with the lost fan base, the fan base who's not coming to the CAA games, the non-HBCU games. This is a great way to reconnect. And let's see if they can get some wins. Winning solves a lot of things, Kyle. If you start to win, I think people will come. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I still think winning brings people to the games, even us, even our people.
The great aroma of winning. It
smells good.
It smells good. In the midst of all the funk around you, it smells good if you win, right? And that's the bottom line, man. Can you win, and can you be able to bring a winner back to that program? everybody knows Coach Washington saying, "Show me the money." Hey, he got his check. But what has happened to that Aggies program since then has been little to be able to say great, or but it's a great program. It's a great campus. It's a great school. That's what's so inviting and enticing about it. And I think you have a coach like Sean Gibbs, who is very familiar. I think he spent 11 seasons there as an assistant.
Yeah, he was a running back special team coach under Rod Broadway and Washington. Right. During those celebration runs. So yeah, he's got a history. He's got a deep history. Goes back deep. A
great history, and he developed Tarek Cohen. So you look at what he's been able to do. He's quite familiar. I think it's a good match, all in all. We still haven't heard anything out of Prairie View as of yet. We haven't heard anything about what's happening in some of the other major hires, but there's been some rumors and rumblings going on in Norfolk.
Oh, I love rumors. The rumors.
The rumor mill. I heard one guy say it's a fact. It's going to happen that Michael Vick will be the new head football coach of the Spartans. What's your thoughts?
Look, Lennon Blow. Lennon's in the chat. He's watching the show. Lennon, are you ready for Mike Vick? Are you ready for the Vick experience?
Uh-oh.
Come on, Lennon. I want to hear from you, brother. I mean, this is a guy who he was out there fundraising to get Dawson Odoms out. So come on,
really?
man. I want to hear, man. I want to hear. Is Mike Vick the guy? Is Mike Vick the man? Look, I don't know what Mike Vick has been doing. I know he's been on TV. I don't know. I don't know. Look, Lennon says they're ready, Kyle. Lennon says they're ready. So I don't know what Mike Vick is going to bring to the table. I don't know, but I do think and this is what I'll tell you what is surprising, Kyle, that you would choose to go to a Mike Vick when you have two winning at a high level Division II coaches right in the backyard. Dr. Alvin Parker, who's still in the playoffs, right? With the Virginia Union team, and Dr. Henry Frazier. Yeah, Dr. Frazier. Amazing. That's all I can say.
Look, and it's the star power of Michael Vick. And, Vick can help. You're right. He can help recruit. He can help raise some money. And right now we are in the NIL era of college football, where you have to have a coach, athletic director, the whole department understanding how to navigate through the NIL, how to be able to recruit not only the players and matching them up with the right NIL situation or collective or whatever, but it has to be where somebody can raise the money who has the profile to be able to do so, especially with a struggling program. And we had a quick conversation with Bubble McDowell the other night on HBCU Legends and Black Sports Insiders. And he said, hey, his next step, wherever he goes, he has to have somebody in place to help him with the NIL. And it has to be something that is going to be a major focus going forward for any coach to understand the intricacies of recruiting players who need the NIL. Look, I look at the young guy who went up to McNeese State, the quarterback, right? And McNeese State had a horrible season. Mm-hmm. But remember in the summertime, he was on that sideline at Prairie View to see what was going on. The problem was Prairie View didn't have enough NIL money to be able to keep the kid. McNeese State picked up the phone, gave him 50 large. He was gone. So
how did he do this past season? Because all money spent is not good money.
I don't know. I don't know how he did, but I know the program now is changing their direction. The football coach has lost his position, and now they're looking for a new guy. So
see, I think about I'm gonna use Alcorn for example. Like I know when Alcorn brought their quarterback in, I believe it was the young man Tyler Macon, I believe, a year ago. Not this season, but a year ago.
Now he's a wide receiver, right?
Look, they brought him. There was some NIL money from what I heard that helped bring him to Alcorn. How'd that work out? Didn't work out very well from what I saw. So you got to be careful about what you spend your money on. I mean, these guys may look good on tape. And if you're looking back at an old high school senior tape and his 1 year at a JUCO or, I mean, you got to be careful about this money that's being spent on these young people.
Right. Look, I agree, man. NIL it's a precarious situation right now. And we're still in the infancy of understanding how it's all going to play out. But when you have an animal like this that needs to be fed, you got to find some guys out there to be able to feed them, And right now, if we're going to compete as a HBCU football program in all of the sports, not only just football, but also basketball as well, that's going to be a part of the conversation. What type of NIL dollars can you help me be able to offer to these kids so we can have a good team and field a good team all in all? That's the bottom line, guys. All right. We want to hear from you guys. If you guys got some more comments out there, I'm willing to open up my phone line if you guys want to go on the phones and do anything to that nature. But we're going to talk a little bit more about this. Is it time for break, Coach?
Yeah, we can go ahead and hit the first break.
All right, we'll hit the first break, and we'll be back to talk more about what's happening in HBCU sports, as well as we're going to go into the championship breakdown. Thank you.
HBCU football fans, this year's Cricket Celebration Bowl has a new date. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 14th as the MEAC and SWAC champions meet once again. Join us in Atlanta for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit the Celebration Bowl.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
ESPN Events Band of the Year, a title reserved for the absolute best in the world of HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 13th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be adjudicated by expert judges in the world of college bands. 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for ranking updates throughout the season. And join us at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
All right, we're talking about the band of the year. That's something that's going to be very hot at the Celebration Bowl, guys. And I love to talk about the bands. We had John Grant from ESPN Events on with us a couple of weeks ago, and it looks like in Division I, the leaders are North Carolina A&T, and you got Southern up there as well, right?
No, it's A&T in the 100. It's A&T in the 100.
I did that on purpose, guys.
I know you did. That's all right. We still find our way to Atlanta, baby. You can't keep us rattlers out of Atlanta.
I did that on purpose. I know the 100 has something to talk about, man. You guys, early in the season, I was kind of worried about the Rattler band. I was worried about you guys, man.
Really?
Y'all weren't high stepping it like you used to.
Really? Look, I don't. I was probably more eyes were. My eyes were probably more focused on the football games, and unfortunately, I wasn't making to as many home games. But it's good to see. It's good to see. A lot of people have some issues though with the band of the year. I don't think you can ever please everybody.
It's difficult. It's difficult because when you talk to Mr. Grant, and he was talking about the past band directors who are now a part of that committee, and these guys got some guys who are from all across the country, but there's been a heavy emphasis. I think some of the people say there's been more of an emphasis on the East Coast bands than the SWAC bands. They want to have more of the SWAC bands up in there, but Florida A&M still has a strong presence and a strong name. So, but they have had some very good performances as of late. I have to admit about that. And Southern, they had a very strong performance at the Bayou Classic. That was a very good show that those guys put on. And, Tennessee State is always going to be up there. And I was surprised because Texas Southern, I watched them all season long, being able to cover them here in Houston. They did a great job as well. So, congratulations to those Division I bands, and those guys will be participating for the Band of the Year trophy. Let's see. If the Sonic Boom of the South isn't in the top 3, it's a fluke. All right, I hear you, Will.
Look, that's the rankings. They might have been in the top 3, but guess what? If you don't finish 1 or 2, you're sitting at home watching just like everybody else. And so I got to go back and look and see what the actual band finished rankings were.
All right. So for Division I, it's North Carolina A&T number 1, Florida A&M 2, Southern 3, Tennessee State 4th, and Texas Southern 5th.
So the Boom didn't even make the top 5, huh? Okay. I want to make sure I heard that right. I want to make sure I heard that right.
That is surprising.
Okay.
Did not make it. And then we look at Division II, Virginia State, the Trojans. And then you have Miles, Winston-Salem, Florida Memorial, and Savannah State. What did Drew just say?
Drew said something about SWAC bands tend to be stand bands, whereas MEAC bands tend to focus on the field show.
I don't know about that, Drew, man. I seen some of those MEAC bands, and I was falling asleep right in the middle, man. So, all right, man. It's all about fun, all about love here. So those guys are headed to Atlanta. They're going to participate, as well as this year they're going to have a high school component, and the high schools from the greater Atlanta area that are part of the top 2 is Southwest DeKalb and Jonesboro, where Westlake and Stevenson were 3 and 4 respectively. All right. So it's some good stuff, man. And I think it's a lot of competition. And then you're going to go out to California in January, I believe, where there's going to be a Honda Band of the Year competition, so a lot of Band of the Year. So we'll see at the Celebration Bowl how this all goes down.
Here's what's interesting, right? And I'm looking at the website. It's great that the website puts the rankings. Like, they show you how the scoring is done.
Right.
So you can look at it on the surface, and that top 5 you read, you can poo-poo it all you want.
Right.
They show you. It's like, hey, unlike the college football playoffs where you don't have any idea what's happening, you get to see how the scoring is done. So, and like you had John Grant on talking how the scoring is done. You have actual band people during the scoring. You know what I'm saying? So,
right. So
it's not like me and Kyle and other media people and other YouTubers or people who record. No, these are former directors, former musician, drum majors. I mean, these are people who know what they're seeing and what they're listening to. So I think at some point we got to have a little bit of respect for.
Well, and think about it like this: it wasn't just totally on one element of the band program, right? I feel like, I feel like Southern won it. I feel like Grambling won it. No, they went from how did the drum majors perform, the percussion section, the musicality, the drills, the design of the program, and the auxiliaries like the flag twirlers and all this other stuff, right? So all of that was in combination to be able to go into the rankings. I think when you look at that and you look at like the top drum majors that said North Carolina A&T, I got to argue that point. I'm kind of wondering there because I've seen Jackson State's drum majors, right? And they're nowhere in the top 10.
No, they're number 14.
Come on. I think there's some, we're going to have to probably have some equitable type of rankings here and some fairness here. Yeah, I'm causing controversy on the show.
No. Here's the next thing where this is going, Kyle, right? And I think I love this transparency. Yeah. But I also think just like we can watch the performances of football on the field, we don't actually know which performances bands submitted because if I'm not mistaken, every month bands have an opportunity to submit their shows. So a school may do 3 shows in a month, right? They're going to choose. I'm just using that as an example. Well, they might choose to select or enter one for this month. So like that's the part where I think this has to get to where somehow people can go and see what is being evaluated.
That's a great point. Yeah. So put it on the website and say, here are all the shows. But what has happened also, Brian, is the fact that I think John Grant said, not like you said, not everybody submitted, but those bands who have their own video programs and they put it up there, those directors and whoever those judges were, they looked at those shows as well. So I think this year they kind of did it a little bit differently, or twofold, whatever. But it's a good conversation, man. And, you talk about the bands. I was an old drum major myself, so I love to see what's happening out there, man. So good stuff from that end. All right, let's see. I was going to talk to you guys about, we got news that Kendall Bowler, your guy, is headed to the Hula Bowl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. FAMU guy is going to the Hula Bowl, and we got some more people that are going to be headed to the HBCU Legacy Bowl as well.
Shocked that he didn't make first team all SWAC, but I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah, he had a good year, very productive year for him as well.
Yeah, I guess you got to have stats to be considered one of the best DBs. I guess you have to have people throw at you and at your direction so that you can have tackles and pass deflections and interceptions. But when they don't throw your way, Kyle, I don't know how you're supposed to get statistics to matter. I'm just saying.
It's difficult. Deion used to have that same argument. He said, they're throwing away from me. What do you expect? I'm going to have 1 or 2 interceptions.
Exactly.
So it happens, man. The young man, Keandre Booker out of Tennessee State, he is headed to the NFL, as well as Draylen Ellis, their quarterback, is headed to the National Football League as well. They're putting their hats in. And, of course, Eddie George, he came in third when it came down to the FCS Coach of the Year selection by the Stats Perform gentlemen and all those guys that did their final rankings. And I think it was the coach from Montana State that went on to win the Coach of the Year for the FCS this season. So a lot of good stuff that has been happening recently. And I think when you look at some of the other awards that are out there. It's not a surprise that we have Chennis Berry as Coach of the Year in the MEAC. Congratulations to TC Taylor being Coach of the Year in the SWAC. And Sam Shade, he was Coach of the Year. All of those guys deserving, as well as Henry Frazier being Coach of the Year for the CIAA. So all of those are
outstanding coaching. Now, this is one of those years, Kyle, where, it's great that all these guys in these different conferences, but let's just if you took them by division level, Division One, non-Division One, who would your Coach of the Year be? I mean, of the four, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna throw four names out at you on the upper level on the Division One side, right? Obviously, you got Chennis Berry. Obviously, you got Eddie George. Obviously, you got TC Taylor. Let me see. Give me a fourth. You'll say Graves. Maybe Graves.
Graves should be in the conversation. He has to be in that conversation. Yeah.
So if you look at those four, let's just go with those four, right?
Right.
Who's your Coach of the Year?
It's for me. It's still between Coach Berry and Coach Taylor. Now, Eddie George, what he had done to the end of the season, being able to win that conference that hasn't been won in years by the Tigers, going up to Montana and playing a very tough game against those guys, you have to give him some kudos, man. If you go head to head between Taylor and Berry, Coach Berry's my guy. He's got the dog, and we got to get those fleas off us and we got to put it in there. That's my guy, So I love Chennis Berry, but TC Taylor, head to head, that one game, FAMU, the Bulldogs lost. Well, they beat them, and I just right now I have to give a slight edge to TC Taylor.
I'll tell you, I know I'll get accused for never giving TC Taylor or Jackson State any credit, but when I look at an award like this, right? I would start with what was your what was the expectation of your team?
Right.
And I've seen two different metrics where South Carolina State was predicted to go 4-7.
Right.
And Tennessee
fourth
State
in the league too, right? Their league.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Tennessee State was predicted to go like 5-7. Jackson State was expected to finish third, but I had metrics that were predicting Jackson State to win 10 games. So, the computers love Jackson State going into the year. Maybe that's because of their schedule.
Right.
No comment. It is what it is. But I don't think Jackson State performed above expectation. While South Carolina State, Tennessee State performed above the expectation at a dominant level, especially in the case of South Carolina State. And so Berry would get my vote, and it probably that would get my vote for Coach of the Year, and George would probably be a close second.
Yeah. I have to agree with you on that point because think about this. He comes from Benedict up to South Carolina State. Nobody really gave him much of a consideration to be able to win the MEAC. Everybody thought that was going directly to NCCU. Trey Oliver will be there far as none, right? Especially after that last loss that they had against Howard, right? That sent the Bison over to the Celebration Bowl. But when you look at TC Taylor, he also had to kind of tool that whole.
He did. Yep.
I think they have 40 to 50 new guys in that program. He had to really try to figure out who his quarterback was mid-season until they settled in on Morgan once again. But, Graves did the same thing. Look at the permutation of quarterbacks he had to go through. And now he's with the freshmen going into the championship game. How ballsy is that, man? To be able to go into the championship game with a freshman, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's saying something.
I mean, that's why you have to say, man, it's close, very close between Taylor and Barry, as well as Graves is right there nipping at their heels. But I think it's all going to be settled in the Celebration Bowl. Then you'll know who's the coach of the year.
If we're only so lucky. I mean, what if we're only so lucky? I mean, we we'll have to just wait and see what happens. I guess by Saturday, by about 5:30 Eastern time, I guess we'll know. But man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's going to be something else, man. But I tell you, before we get into talking more about the Celebration Bowl, let's take a quick break. We'll be back, and then we're going to jump right into it. We still want to hear you guys' thoughts. Smash up the likes out there on YouTube, as well as if you got us on Facebook or Twitter, whatever. Give us some love and give us some support. Dr. Cavil, HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be back.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
HBCU football fans, this year's Cricket Celebration Bowl has a new date. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 14th as the MEAC and SWAC champions meet once again. Join us in Atlanta for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit the Celebration Bowl.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Okay, we are back inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And Coach, man, let's talk a little bit about a couple of these last postseason awards. Offensive Player of the Year that went to Irv Mulligan in the SWAC. Good one.
Oh yeah. I would like to. We understand how the SIDs and the coaches usually vote, or everybody doesn't, but we do. As much as I'd love to stand on the table and make the pitch for Daniel Richardson, who was the newcomer of the year, I think you got to go. You go with the best offensive guy from the one of the two division championship teams, and I don't think Southern had really a standout player. Now Mulligan, what was interesting is he's the only back to average over 100 yards per game. So I mean, he really was a difference maker. And
he missed 2 games. Think about it.
He missed 2 games. Right. Exactly. He missed 2 games. So I don't know if he eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark on the season. He may have barely eclipsed it, but I know just by the fact that he went over averaging 100 yards a game just speaks to how important he is.
Look, in Irv, we trust. That they should be printing that out at Jackson State, man. If you want to win, you got to give Mr. Mulligan the ball, man. And I watched him firsthand kind of decimate the Texas Southern Tigers defense, man. So Irv, I believe in the young guy. And another young guy I believe in, Mr. Givens over at Southern. Man, he's I think he's trending at the right time for those guys, for the Jaguars. What's your thoughts about him?
I think it's interesting that he was the preseason. I think he was a preseason choice and managed to end up as the choice at the end, because that doesn't always happen. Right. You know, a lot of times the preseason stuff is based off of the top returner from a year ago, not really taking into consideration the new people who transfer in to the conference, or maybe somebody who rises up. So to see him go from being preseason to actually the regular season, the guy at the end, I think that speaks a lot to him.
Yeah, and his co-defensive player of the year, Mr. Andrew Jones from Grambling State University, he is now entering the transfer portal. That is going to really hurt the G-men to be able to lose a defensive guy like him. He's very tenacious. If you saw him in the Bayou Classic, that kid was making plays left and right. So good stuff for him.
Will he stay in the SWAC, or will he look to quote unquote
too much NIL money, Coach? Too much NIL money being thrown at these kids, man. They're jumping into that portal. You see what Mr. Gibson over at Pine Bluff did. You see what Mekhi Higgins is entering the portal. You see these guys are giving themselves an opportunity to hear where's the money. So
yeah, but the thing about that portal though, Kyle, once you jump, you better make sure you got on a parachute and got a safe landing, because there's no pulling you back. I rarely see situations where you pull back. I know we over at Florida A&M had a few guys who jumped in and came back, but you better make sure you have a safety net when you jump, because sometimes you can't go back to where you had a good situation. Guys that often go looking for greener pasture, and grass isn't always greener on the other side.
And you saw this with Eric Phoenix. He's over at South Carolina State.
Yeah.
He left Benedict, right, and went over to, I forgot was it Troy?
I thought it was Charleston Southern. I don't know.
One of those,
I'll look it up.
One of those funny schools. But he came back home when Coach went up to South Carolina State, man. And the freshman of the year, Mr. Travis Terrell Jr., congratulations on him. He's also finalist for the Jerry Rice Award, being the top freshman in the nation. All right, Herb Mulligan, we talked about. A couple other key players for this SWAC championship to be able to keep your eye on. Mr. Joshua Nobles, the defensive end from Jackson State University, 51 tackles, 11 TFLs, 9 sacks. Wow, 9 sacks. 2 forced fumbles and 5 quarterback hits on the season. Then you look at Chandler Whitfield, the wide receiver from Southern, who had 23 receptions, 411 yards, and as well as 4 touchdowns. But you saw in the Bayou Classic, he could be a game changer, right, Coach?
Oh, yeah, definitely can be a game changer. That's what makes this so interesting for Southern, I think, to see can you get the consistent production.
That's been their issue all year. Consistency. Yeah. That's been their Achilles heel. Can they be consistent? But usually the Jaguars, when it hits the fourth quarter, they kind of wake up. Say, we need to win. They put it on you. You saw that in the Bayou Classic as well, when Kendrick Rhymes, when he burst through that line and took it 40-plus yards to the house and the Caesar Superdome. He had 123 carries on the season, 614 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he is one of those key players. And Irv Mulligan, we spoke about him, over 1,000 yards in 157 carries this season. And Kelby Gibbons, 67 tackles, 26.5 TFLs, 11 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles on the season for him. So those are some of the key players to keep your eye on. But we can't forget Mr. Morgan, the quarterback from Jackson State. He has to be able to play a great game, as well as you talk about Mr. Woods, Jalen Woods from Southern. If you look at that quarterback to quarterback battle, Coach, who has the edge?
Ooh, I almost by just the default and the nature of where he is at, I've got to go with Morgan. But isn't it going to come? I mean, it sounds cliche, but which quarterback can stay clean? You know, which quarterback can prevent the turnovers? The turnovers been a problem for Southern. I mean, I looked at the plus minus on the season. Southern's plus minus is -7.
Really?
Where Jackson State,
and they're still winning.
Still winning. Well, even in the first time these two teams played, it was two key turnovers, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they had 4 or 5 altogether that game.
Yeah, you know, but you can't do that. So for Woods is going to have to he's going to have to lean on his teammates. You know, don't try to overdo it. Don't try to be the hero. And hopefully the Southern crowd that shows. You know, I've always had a great respect for Southern fans and Jaguar Nation because they travel, and this being the kind of rivalry that they should travel to, if they can be loud, maybe they can make it uncomfortable a little bit for Morgan, who won't be. I don't know, you know, how many opponents that they've faced this year where you've had to deal with a lot of noise on offense. So if Jaguar Nation is able to sort of make a presence and have their presence, you know, that their presence be heard in that stadium, that'll be interesting to see how it works out. But I give the edge to Morgan. I give a slight edge to Morgan.
Man, the vet is going to be rocking. You talk about Boombox 2, right? Part 2. And you having the human jukebox against the sonic boom of the South. That should be interesting. And get this. If Southern plays and Dr. Taylor has that band blaring, they can't really do anything but give them a penalty, right? Or first thing is always going to be a warning. But, hey, you're going to see some gamemanship from those bands. Watch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do you think? Plus or minus 55,000 at the vet? Now, I was going to say
I will say plus.
You think it'll go over 55,000?
I think it's going to be plus this year.
Okay.
You have a good contingency of Louisiana people headed down there to be able to witness it. I think some of them, I even talked to a couple of those guys, they didn't go to the Bayou Classic because they just wanted to go to the SWAC Championship, you know, so that should be good to see. I think what's been kind of prohibited is ticket prices, right? But the parking at $30 parking, that can get kind of steep, especially if you want to bring your family. So,
well, hopefully you're not caravanning in multiple cars. Hopefully you load the whole family up in one car.
You never know, man. You might have mom and pops here, mama, papa in the back there, or whatever.
Hey, well, look, if it costs $30 to park, that's still cheaper than what if you were to go to like an NFL game. So, I mean, everything in perspective, Kyle, right? I mean,
hey, man, I'm trying to lobby for the people. I'm a man for the people.
I hear you.
We need to lower those ticket prices. And I know A.D. Robinson, hey, Mosley, you getting in my pocket, baby.
Hey, this is a big opportunity to earn for Jackson State. This is why, you know, it's a big advantage for Jackson State to have a 50,000 plus seat stadium. You know, everybody's not so fortunate, and so it's a good thing, good opportunity for them to earn. And you couldn't ask for a better matchup than Southern.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about this. A couple seasons ago, Southern went into that stadium. Coach Dooley at that time was the head man, and those guys lost. Okay. And of course, we know what happened. A few hours later, Deion Sanders took off to Colorado. And has the SWAC recovered from this? What's your opinion?
From what? You trying to get me in trouble, Kyle. What from what? What can recover
from the loss of Coach Pride?
Oh my God. I'm not look, this is Kyle that started this, people, not me. Are you talking about the prime effect? Is that the
prime effect that Dr. Cavil coined?
Oh Lord. Did Doc coin?
Doc was one of the first guys to say that, if I recall.
Okay. I've seen it used in other spaces, especially now.
Yeah, he should have gotten that trademark, man.
Oh man, I tell you. Well, look, I will say this. Jackson State has moved on. They have moved on. They've moved forward, and they're still winning. Now, that's all I'm gonna say, Kyle. Because
okay, all right.
And I say that because what's interesting is I remember when Jackson State wasn't winning. Now, I know every program has a valley. Knows Florida A&M, we had a valley before Willie Simmons, so we all have valleys.
Look, man, Morehouse, we're still trying to get out our valley. Look, come on, man.
But I'm fascinated sometimes at it's almost the vitriol that some folk from the JSU community have when you even somewhat mention and bring up his name. It's like he who shall not be talked about
ever again. Strike his name from the record.
Yeah, it's like no, he ain't had nothing to do with this. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I mean, he had nothing to do with this. Okay. Okay.
Well, look, let's do it like this. TC Taylor, if those guys are able to win that championship game, it's all a moot point, right? Because then you have TC Taylor, he's putting his fingerprint on that program, and he's moving it in the direction that he wants to move it in. And he's done a tremendous job. So
I think the Celebration Bowl win clearly moves his era past the previous administration.
The prime era.
Yeah. Clearly. Because he will have done something that his predecessor could not do, which is beat South Carolina State in the Celebration Bowl.
Just beat any MEAC teams.
So, hey, look. So when that happens, Kyle, we're not going to be able to tell them folk anything. Because at that point, we will have to put a nail in any conversation about he who shall not be discussed out of my mouth. Because I don't want the hate mail this weekend. I want to try to enjoy that.
One last thing. I got to say this, though. I never seen anything like this because I was at that SWAC championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they started playing One Monkey Don't Stop, No Show. And coaches on the sideline, and they're playing it through the PA. I'm like, wow.
You think that was a shot?
Oh, clearly it was a shot. Were people dancing? Yeah, it was a shot, man, because everybody already knew what was going to happen. All right, guys, let's talk about some of the keys of the game. When it comes down to the Jackson State offense against the Southern Jaguars defense, Coach, who has the advantage?
Jackson, wait a minute, say that part. Here, let me pull this up and go ahead and say it in because I got some nice little graphic here which kind of breaks down.
Okay, all right, cool.
Points and the average. So say that again for me.
Let's talk about the Southern Jaguars offense against the Jackson State defense. Let's go that route first.
Well, man, just on statistics alone, I've got to go. The advantage clearly goes to Jackson State. I think. I mean, Jackson State's defense has allowed under 300 yards per game. And so if this Jackson State defense, can I would say even if you're able to hold Southern to field goals instead of touchdowns, you're winning.
Okay.
You're winning. But I think forcing turnovers is the real advantage. I mean, that is I saw it firsthand and what they did to Florida A&M late in the ball game, trailing. They forced turnovers. They made the big plays, and it put them into this game, into this situation. And so this team, this Jackson State defense is real. I give them credit. I think there's some spots where you can take advantage of them, though, but I think they're real.
Okay, right quick, before we lose our time, we're going to look at what's happening with let's flip-flop it, the Jackson State offense against the Southern defense. Who has the advantage?
I'm going to be honest. I think this is the closest side right here.
Oh, really?
I think Southern's defense, I mean, look, you got the number 3 defense in terms of points allowed and yardage allowed going up against a good offense. I think defense wins on both sides. And I think Southern and Jackson State's defense, that's the beautiful thing about this matchup, Kyle. Everybody is a little improved from where they were, 12 weeks ago.
Right.
12 weeks ago when these two teams played. So if and that's why I say it's going to come down to a turnover and special teams. I mean, we saw how special teams cost Tennessee State, right? Whose special teams is going to make a difference? And sometimes people are like, oh, that sounds cliche. No, but it's clear. It's real.
It's true. It's real.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's special teams is going to make a mistake or make a play. And at the end of the day, I think in a game where the Jackson State offense is going to have to be able to go up against that Southern defense, I think that's the more evenly balanced side of this. And so, that's what I'm interested to see.
Yeah, and my old mentor, Rick Gailey, would say, special teams must be special. But also recall Sean Payton when I was covering the New Orleans Saints. If you had +2 in that turnover differential, 80% of the time you win the game. Just +2 in that area right there. All right. Let's see. Before we end, so we talked about the advantages on both sides. We talked about, now let's go to the coaches' advantages. Which coaching staff has the advantage?
This is a tough one. I don't know, Kyle. I don't know if one staff has an advantage over the other, to be honest with you. And I say that because Coach Taylor, who's just in his second year, Graves in his first year, both have put in time as assistant coaches. This is a defining moment for both coaches.
Okay, we'll just put it as a push right now.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I call it a push there. So,
who has the advantage right now? With that home crowd, or will that Southern crowd kind of tilt it in the favor of the Jaguars?
Well, see, and this is the thing about the SWAC Championship Game. It's not a Jackson State home game, right? So you technically are what? You're supposed to have a little bit of evenness with the crowd, supposedly, right? Unless it's supposedly. So I think if you get a good 25,000 Southern fans to 30, 25 to, let's say 25, 20 to 25, right? 20 to 25 Southern fans in the house. I think that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. I don't think, now the disadvantage will be if the Southern fans didn't travel, or, I think if it is only 10 to 15, because then that means that other, I'm gonna do the math here real quick. If that other 40,000, that other 45 to 40,000 is Jackson State fans, big time advantage for Jackson State.
Okay, Coach. Bottom line, who wins this game?
saw the recent point spread, Kyle. It's 13 and a half.
13 and a half. I was surprised at that.
Yeah, I was. Well, because the last game, it was a 15, was it 33-15 last time, and the spread was only 9.5 then. I actually think it's going to be closer. I think Jackson State wins it, but I think it's more by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think Jackson State comes with a fourth quarter. They're going to rally from behind on this one. It's going to be a shock, but I think Jackson State pulls it out, and they'll punch their ticket to the Celebration Bowl. Now, I would say this, and I have to agree with this one point. If Jackson State gets out to a big lead early on, watch for the old complacency not to take over. Coach Taylor mentioned this when he was in Houston against Texas Southern. He said that's one thing he's concerned about his team getting too complacent when they have the lead. So let's watch out for that, man. So
I think the first half is big for Southern. The first quarter to the first half, I mean, it is so big for Southern. Southern needs to be going into halftime either within a field goal, a tie game, or God forbid if Southern has a lead at halftime. That is the ideal situation for Southern. If I'm Southern, I don't want to be down a touchdown or more going to halftime.
Okay. Look, I think one other key that you guys have to really look at, who is on the special teams are able to kind of flip the field to their advantage early on. Who's going to win that battle early on? Who's going to have the better field position? Starting at the 30 to 40 gives you a better chance to be able to score a touchdown, not a field goal, just a touchdown. So let's see. Mr. Mosley, you don't think it? Okay. Well, all I'm saying is this. I still believe Southern University, they're the cardiac cats for a reason. They can always come back. They can always put it on you, and they can always shock you. I was right there in that end zone when I looked at that scoreboard with seconds left in the game when all Texas Southern had to do was make a punt or run the ball or take a safety or whatever, and that kid missed the punt. That was it.
Sometimes, Kyle, in special seasons, things
happen, right?
Special things happen, and you don't go through. This could be one of those magical seasons for Southern where, you look back on it and say, how did we win that game, and that game, given the fact that we've had games where we look bad. Remember, let's all not forget, they had a game at home where they looked bad. Really bad, and people were talking like, do we have the right guy? Remember that? People were really asking, do we have the right guy running our program? Because we just got embarrassed at home. Just saying. Some might be in the water there in the bayou.
You never know, man. When a team wins like that, fortune may be on their side. And as Coach Graves said, the Lord is with us. He told me, Lord is with us. I said, all right, I got you, Coach. All right, guys. Don't forget to keep following Dr. Cavil's Inside the Sports Lab. And tomorrow, are you guys going to have a breakdown, or is it going to be Sunday morning, a breakdown of the SWAC Championship?
Well, I know the Carlos Brown show kicks off at noon Eastern, 11 Central.
All right, Carlos.
I mean, look, Carlos is a Southern guy. So
he is.
That is your pregame. It may be with a heavy Southern flavor, but Carlos will keep it real. Carlos is not shy. He will tell you if he doesn't believe Southern will win. That's what I love about Carlos. He does not wear that. I don't want to get the colors wrong. Is it maize and blue or Columbia? I don't know what are Southern's colors, but whatever they are, blue and gold. Carlos, he wears the hat proudly, but he's not a fanboy. So he will keep it real. So I would say tune in to the Carlos Brown show, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, as sort of your pregame. And then the game kicks off at 2 Eastern or 1 Central. And then get your popcorn ready. And I expect a great game, man. Hopefully we get great weather and some beautiful video coverage of the vet in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, Tiffany Green and Jay Walker will be on the call. It's going to be on ESPN2, right? So,
I believe so, yeah.
And guys, just be ready to have a great contest. It's going to be one of those evenly matched games, I believe. And look, if you guys think it's going to be a runaway, it has to be a runaway early. If it's not going to be a runaway early, it's going to be an all-out fight, an all-out cat fight. You got the Tigers against the Jaguars. So it's going to be great to see. Coach, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Hey, I enjoyed it, Kyle, man. Thank you for the invite. It was good. It kind of gets me excited to want to watch. I'm gonna go watch some NCAA volleyball. My Rattlers are in the NCAA. We're playing Nebraska.
Ooh, that's a
right
tough
now.
draw.
Yeah, it is. But we beat them one time before.
Really?
We beat them about 20 years ago, and their coach hasn't forgotten. Their coach is a Hall of Famer, and he is holding on to that loss. So we're gonna try to beat them like it's 2004, Kyle. I'm looking forward to that. And then I might watch Delaware State women. They're playing tonight as well. So I'm gonna watch a little women's volleyball tonight.
All right, last thing before we get off here, Coach. I got to pick at you a little bit. Willie Simmons, where is he going to be at next?
Man, I would love to see Coach Simmons get a shot down at FIU, to be honest. I mean, there's some I hope he's proven that he can lead a program. And I think there are some good connections that he has within the state of Florida that he has built up that I think would be a big advantage to FIU. And they would be wise to really, really strongly consider FIU. Hey, look, I would love to see as much as I'd love to see him right here in the UCF backyard. I think he could do it. I don't know if UCF is that bold, but of the two between UCF and FIU, I think FIU would be the play. But he's got two choices. If I'm his agent, I'm talking to both schools and like, hey, look, I got a guy who knows how to recruit Florida, and he can get it done. So,
all right. Well, guys, wherever he goes, let's support Coach Simmons, great coach. And also, there's going to be more about these coaches' positions being filled pretty soon. We'll have more reports on HBCU Legends on Sports Illustrated. You can always check us out there. And, Coach, you guys have a good one. And we'll have a great time talking about who's headed to the Celebration Bowl, because I'm headed to the Celebration Bowl. I'll be there in full effect. And probably
I'll be there on Friday, Kyle. I'm gonna be there watching the Band of the Year, watching the 100 mop.
Are you guys doing Radio Row or?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I'm supposed to be at Radio Row. I better
okay, all right.
Loud. I'm supposed to be there. Yes,
well,
not the
we'll be there
show,
as well, man. We'll be there. Yes. So we'll bug you over there.
All right. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing you in the ATL, Kyle.
Yeah, look, man, Michelle Jinks, she got on me about the past few years not being there. So I'll be there this year, guys.
Well, you better be there, Kyle. You know,
my Jinx said, hey, Kyle.
Don't get fooled, Kyle. You better be there.
Yeah.
Lucky. Hey,
all right, guys. Y'all take care. Have a good one. And congratulations to whomever is headed to the Celebration Bowl on tomorrow. Take care.